right, so next up we're talking about parameters and statistics. And we mentioned these briefly before when we talked about population and sample, but we want to more formally define them now. A parameter is a number that describes the population, right? You know, remember, so both of these start with P. That's the easy way to keep them straight. And so generally for this, because we won't measure the whole population, we're generally not going to know the value of the parameter, whatever it is, the average height, the standard deviation, whatever it might be. Okay. A statistic, on the other hand, is a number describing the characteristic of a sample, and it will be calculated and known. So it's calculated from the sample, and its value is known. Okay, so as an example, during a broadcast of a show on MTV, the host asked viewers to call in and vote for or against a new song, or vote online, whatever, right? With the result that 74% of 12,335 viewers favored the song. So is that 74 a parameter or a statistic? And we'll say, well, it came from 12,333 voters, which is probably not all of the viewers of MTV, or certainly not all of the people who might like the song or not. So this is coming from a sample, right? So it is measured from the 12,335 viewers. So this is our sample, right? So that means that 74% is indeed a statistic, right? The parameter would be, we can go ahead and write this in here, parameter would be the proportion of all viewers who liked the song or favored the song. So here we have this question. Given that our sample is actually really large, 12,335, and the percent is so far above 50%, is it valid to conclude that the majority of Americans favor the song? And the answer is no, for multiple reasons, okay? So one, MTV viewers are not the same as all Americans, right? They're a subset of Americans. So first off, it's not representative. Sample is not representative of the claimed population, right? So here they're saying, hey, our population is Americans, right? But our sample is not drawn from Americans, it's drawn from MTV viewers. So it's, not going to be representative. Okay, second off, and this is again something we're going to talk about more later, people chose whether or not to respond. They were not invited, they were not recruited, they just said, hey, if you hear this, let us know, right? And that is what's called a voluntary response sample. And those are always going to be biased towards the stronger opinions, right? And so in this case, apparently, the people who really like the song wanted to make sure that everybody knew that and that it would get airtime. And so, it may be the correct result or it may not, and we just can't tell because our sample is not representative and our sample technique is biased. Okay. Let's see some more. Hey, is this parameter statistic? So we have a study of all 2,223 passengers aboard the Titanic found that 706 survived when it sank. So the question is that 706 a parameter or a statistic? And so here we have to think about, okay, this all 223 passengers aboard the Titanic. That is the population of people aboard the Titanic, right? And so this 706 is coming from the population, so it is a parameter, and it is one of the rare instances where we know the value of a parameter because we are able to measure the whole population. All right, so this one, Mark measures the voltage supplied to his home on 40 different days, and the mean value was 120.6 volts. And so we have here, we have 40 different days. So this is our sample, right? And we're collecting information from that sample. We're collecting the voltage on each day. And so this value of 120.6 is coming from the sample. So it is a statistic because it is calculated from the sample of 40 days. Okay. One last one. Ty Cobb is one of the Major League Baseball's greatest hitters of all time with a career batting average of .366. Is that .366 a parameter or a statistic? Here we're going to say it's actually a parameter, okay? Because it is his entire career batting average. So that takes into account every single at-bat that he had in every single game that he played. And so it consists of all the games that he's played, and it's coming from that, right? So this is based on all games that Ty Cobb played, which would be the population. So that's going to be a parameter. All right, and so we will stop that. And next up, we're going to kind of do some big picture thinking, looking at the statistical thinking.